Is money printing set to explode? This is step number 6 in the 7-part series on getting our heads around money printing. What is it? How does it work? Today, we go into helicopter money with the banking system. Starts off with the Fed having $100 in bank reserves in the accounts of the commercial banking system. Remember, the commercial banks and the Treasury has an account with the Fed, just like you have an account with Wells Fargo or B of A. Government has 0 bank reserves, nada. And when we go over to the commercial banking system, they start with some bank reserves, the same $100 are liability to the Fed, assets on their balance sheet, a loan, treasuries, and 3 deposit accounts. Those are liability to the commercial banking system, assets for the individuals like the average Joe, Jane, and everyone's favorite, Moody the millennial. Your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam needs to buy some votes, so he wants to send a stimulus check to Moody the millennial. Doesn't have anything in his account, so he needs to sell a treasury. Same thing in the last step. In this case, he sells it to the banking system. So Jaime Demon, which is, I believe, Jamie's Mexican cousin. Regardless, he's a fat cat bankster from Mexico for sure. He says, Sam, I will buy your treasury. So Sam says, Jaime, we do business together. This is the Cantillon effect in its purest form right here. So I will sell you the treasury. So the treasury goes onto the balance sheet of Jaime, and Jaime sends the bank reserves to the Treasury General account. So on the Fed's balance sheet, we start with 100 up here, 0 here. Those bank reserves go into the TGA. So now Jaime has 0 bank reserves. The TGA has 100. But your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam is going to send that $100 check to buy Moody's vote. So when that happens, the bank reserves go from the TGA back into the commercial banking system. And you may be saying to yourself, well, George, this is giving them free money because they already have the $100 treasury. Now they're getting their original bank reserves back. But remember, when Moody deposits their check with the bank, that creates an additional liability of the banking system. So the balance sheets have the liability, but they have a corresponding asset. So let's walk through the balance sheets one more time to make sure we are all on the same page. The Fed starts with 100 in the commercial banks accounts, 0 TGA. Then they sell the treasury. They, meaning your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam, they sell it to Jaime, the bankster, and Jaime transfers his bank reserves to the TGA. Then your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam sends Moody the check for $100. Therefore, he has to send the bank reserves back into the commercial banking system's account held at the Fed. So the Fed's balance sheet ends up the exact same as where it started. The commercial banking system's balance sheet ends up a little different. They started with a bank reserve, but that went into the TGA in step B. And the government gave them a treasury to replace those bank reserves. But your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam spends the money into the economy, giving the check to Moody the millennial, which creates an additional deposit or an additional liability for the commercial banking system. Therefore, the government has to transfer their bank reserves back into the account of Jaime Demon. Therefore, Jaime's balance sheet starts with reserves, loan, treasuries, and 3 deposits, and it ends up with a treasury, a loan, an additional treasury, the same bank reserves, and 4 deposits. So to answer the question, is this money printing? I would say yes. Why? Because we've created additional deposits or additional liabilities of the commercial banking system. In other words, more currency units chasing the same amount of cattle, corn, wheat, goods and services in the real economy. So in technical terms, broad money or M2 money supply increases, base money stays the exact same. the balance sheets in the private sector increase, and the debt on the balance sheet of your drunk, insolvent Uncle Sam, as always, goes up. For the next segment in this 7-part series, the last segment or the entire playlist, check out these links that are probably all around me, and I will see you on the next video.